let's talk about carabiners. Those things that you need to connect all of your various ropes to a trunk, or perhaps ropes to a boat harness, or more likely a boat harness to your various trunk lines. So there's a couple different kinds. And you know, I don't have a magic solution for this. What I can tell you is what we have used at all the national and world record events, also among a bunch of Division I and Division II teams that have worked very, very well over the years. There are other solutions, but there are also some things not to do. So let's talk about what not to do first. The big one, don't run down to your local Home Depot or hardware store and buy a carabiner from there and think that that's going to work. Those things aren't even close to the strength that you need, so don't even bother. Another one, when I go to visit a new team to help out with their rigging and ropes and stuff like that, I show them what I think they should use, and they laugh at me because they're so small, and then they pull out these beastly long 10 to 12 inch long carabiners, and they're like, this is the way you gotta go, and I literally try to just smile and wave. That is not what to do, folks. Do not go and get these giant carabiners, and also the cost, they're $100, $150 and up from there, and they think because it's bigger, it's stronger. It's not. Don't go get those. Not only are they not as strong as what I'm about to show you, they also, when they go down in the water, especially in the case of the boat harness and stuff hooking up just behind the boat, they tend to do this, almost like a fishing lure in the water, and they're tugging on your ropes in a funny way. Don't do that. So here are my recommendations. To me, most teams should have two different grades of carabiners. You have light duty and you have heavy duty. And you notice there isn't a huge difference between these in terms of size, but there is a huge strength difference. So carabiners are typically measured in kilonewtons. But if you want to translate that into something we would understand, jump on Google, type in conversion from kilonewtons to pounds of force, and it will give you ideally about what their breaking strength is. So these carabiners are not very big. Physically, you don't need them to be any larger. If you are stuffing so many ropes into one of these that they don't fit, we probably need to have a different discussion about how you're doing your rigging, because you shouldn't be stuffing that many individual lines into one of these carabiners. You need to break up your trunk lines a little bit differently that are going back from the boat. That's a discussion for a different video. So, light duty carabiners. They are made of aluminum. They are very, very light, but again, they're not as strong. So these are rated a little above 30 kilonewtons. Now, most of the aluminum ones you're going to find are rated at 20 kilonewtons. They aren't that strong. These have about 7,000 pounds of breaking strength. Would I recommend these for multiple pyramids? No, unless you got really tiny pyramids. These are for lines. You use these things for a barefoot line, for strap doubles lines, swivel lines, that kind of stuff. That's what you use these carabiners for. Weight-wise, 7,000 pounds of breaking strength. Whatever you're pulling off the dock, on the initial tug off the dock, when you bring that rope tight, double, and some people will even say triple that weight load. That's what you should be preparing for on breaking strength for these. So these are for your light duty, your smaller acts, smaller lines, that kind of stuff. When you need to go big, that's where these come in. This is a steel carabiner, rated at 74 kilonewtons, I believe. You're looking at about 17,000 pounds of breaking strength. Huge difference between these, even though their size isn't that much different. The difference is in the material. This is not aluminum. It's not even regular steel. It's special heat-treated steel. These are not cheap. Last time I bought them, they were going for about $60 a pop. I'm sure they've gone up since then. Just because they are heat-treated steel, and that makes them cost a lot more. So let's talk about the different mechanisms you have in carabiners. The ones that I have here are the screw-locking carabiners. So first of all, you absolutely need some type of a locking system on your carabiners. Don't just get the ones that just, slide close kind of things. You need a locking system. There's two different kinds. There's the screw type, that's what these are, and there's also the twist lock, or the self-locking ones. Either one is fine initially. Personally, I've used these with big teams. I've used these with all the record events. We have put these and tested these under fire on the biggest, heaviest stuff that's ever been pulled. And we've never had these fail. The self-twisting or self-lock ones, personally, I'm not a fan of. They're great in the first year you get them, but typically after a year or two, if you take a magnifying glass and you look at where they twist and lock, you're going to start seeing hairline cracks appear. And the problem is most teams don't change these things out every year. They, use them until they fail, or they use them for several years. I think almost universally the self-twisting lock ones, after 2 seasons, I start seeing stress cracks in them. And so I prefer not to use those. The downside of these, I like the screw lock ones. They're great because they stay closed and they last a lot longer. However, 2 caveats for both of these that I have in my hand. If you over tighten these, like you have a rider in the boat or you have a dock handler, rope handler working on these, and they crank these, so this is snug, but I could, if I take my hands and really force, I could get an extra half a turn out of here. I over tighten these things and then they tend to lock up, and that's really bad in a show, even worse in a tournament. So, a couple of little maintenance things about these types of carabiners. If you use the screw lock ones, which I absolutely recommend, number 1, train your people, just snug them up, don't over tighten them. Number 2, at the beginning of every season and halfway through your season, take all these types of carabiners you have, dump them in a bucket, and hose them down real well with WD-40, and then work this back and forth a little bit. So that's number 2. Number 3, just in case, have a channel locks in each of your main towboats. So each of your boats that's going to be using these in some fashion have a channel locks, and typically for most teams I work with, you have a bucket of carabiners at the end of the dock at every show and at your tournaments. So you have some spares of these heavy duties, you have lots of spares of the light ones, and have a channel locks in there as well, and probably one on shore. They're $5-6 a pair off of Amazon, cheap way to do it. Just in case somebody does overcrank these, you have a way to get them quickly, get them undone and opened up. You don't need anything bigger than this. How much have these been tested? Several years ago, by sheer accident, we screwed up on a hookup at a world record pyramid event. And we hooked a single one of these to 4 tiers. This was up near the boat. We were bringing all the different trunk lines in from all these different pyramids, and on 4 tiers, on the single line coming in from those, we hooked just one of these. I would not do that normally. Normally I would want to double up and have 2 of these at the connection at the boat harness up there, but we really screwed up big time, and we had just a single one of these, and it survived. And it was fine. As long as it's locked and tight, it still took that pull. And again, this is a world record pull where the boat driver was just absolutely hammering on it to try to get us all off. And we made those center 4 tiers on a single one of these heavy-duty, heat-treated steel carabiners. So, these are my recommendations. Look in the description below. I will put a link there to a document that I can update more regularly. These videos aren't going to be updated that often, but that document I do update typically once a year. It's a link to a PDF document, and that will say, hey, heavy-duty screw-lock carabiners. This is a place to go get them, or a couple places. Same with the light-duty ones. Here's some options where you can go find them, and it'll give you a link, where we've gotten these good ones. Also pay attention to, we have seen a lot of knockoffs over the years. These are American-made. They were made by a company called Omega Pacific. They went out of business during the pandemic, but a company called SMC, and they might be called SMC Rescue now, I'm not sure on that. They bought all of Omega Pacific's intellectual property, copyrights, gear, the whole thing, and are now producing them under their name, but it's the same exact stuff. It's high quality, it's really designed for high mountain rescue. This is not your carabiner you buy at your local hardware store. This is something of high quality. It's trusted by professionals up in the high mountain environment, that literally these guys are doing rescues out of helicopters and stuff like that. So, a little bit of information, Carabiners 101.